All right. I'm here today playing the Old Republic, or sorry, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. I'm going to talk about Deadpool and Wolverine because obviously that's the biggest thing probably this year for the box office, except for Inside Out 2. I'm going to talk about Andor because I just watched that on member request. And then I'm going to talk about kind of just whatever. It's going to be a relatively short stream since I'm going on at 1:30 with Mayo and a couple other people. So Unbridled Mayo, he hosts his own live stream thing at least semi regularly. I don't know. They don't have a set schedule, I don't think. But I've done a couple streams with him. The last time we were discussing an organized chaos video where he was essentially trying to slander Mauler. It was a terrible video. It was about a year old. And that was fun because we got to talk about Doctor Strange again, which was just a piece of dog shit. We got to talk about kind of just random stuff. I talked with one of the guys. I think his name was T something. I'm bad with names, so I'm even worse with YouTube names. But him and I got to talk about Halo a little bit when Mayo was on a bathroom break. It was fun. It was a good hangout. I think both of those streams were, I want to say like, I think one was 4 hours and then one was like 5 or 6. Hey, what's up, Jakin? I would play Dark Souls or Elden Ring. How much do those cost right now? And I wouldn't even be opposed to playing those. It's more of just the fact that I've heard those games are very difficult. And obviously, if I'm playing a hard game, I'm going to have to focus on the game a lot more. And I don't really know if people have any interest in just kind of watching me, die over and over in fucking Dark Souls or whatever. So I'm a little bit reluctant to do something like that on stream. I wouldn't be opposed to playing them in general, but I'm mainly here just to kind of, and the game is mainly here just to have something to hang out with and kind of talk. But yeah, I mean, I've heard good things about them. I saw, I think it was EFAB did a stream recently. Did Elden Ring get a DLC? And people are like bitching about it, I guess. I mean, I could always do, well, I guess I could always do at some point like a more game dedicated stream where, it really is more just about me playing than kind of hanging out and talking with everybody. I could do that. But I don't know if I'm good enough for anybody to have an interest. Oh, it was Elden Ring. Yeah, it seems like overall it's like pretty popular, but I don't know. I think it was Theo, Shadow of the Erd Tree. I think it was Theo was really bitching about kind of the way that the game worked and sort of the I guess the way they increased the difficulty. At least based just on what he said was that they like threw off the timing of the visual cues and stuff. So you have to get adjusted to these really weird timings and stuff, and that's kind of how they made it difficult instead of like a more standard way where you have visual cues and it's tough, but if you have your timing right, then it's fair. Like he seemed to be bordering more on it being unfair and kind of repetitive. I haven't started it myself, but I don't get all the hate for difficulty. Yeah, the difficulty thing is a weird thing because it seems like there's like a whole group of people that feel like every single game should be beatable by anyone, and like you should essentially have a mode where you're just almost watching a movie. Hey, what's up, Mayo? I think I tagged you in the stream, and I realized, oh, you're not actually going to be on here, so that might be a little bit misleading. Kind of a mistake there. I was just talking to Jaken about the Elden Ring and Dark Souls games because I've never played them, but I know they're one of those things that people really struggle with. And I was talking about how there's a big community of people that think that, you know, if you're a scrub, you should still be able to beat every single game. I'll be honest, I don't have an issue if the game developers say, like, look, we're designing the game to be played this way. This is the one difficulty, and you can beat it or you can't. I think that's a perfectly reasonable way to do it. You're just going to end up with a very niche game. So, you know, who cares? Like, not every single game is for everyone. I can't imagine there's many, you know, actual gamers that play Candy Crush or whatever, you know? You know, on what I'm playing, obviously I'm playing KOTOR right now. On one hand, it's like kind of a bummer that they're not remaking it because the combat is really shit in this game. Like the gameplay itself. And the story is obviously awesome. But I would never trust them to not just butcher the story. I mean, how could you at this point, you know? All games should be completable, but have different rewards for difficulty level. Yeah, I mean the problem is I don't know how bad people are. Like the ones doing the complaining, I kind of wonder if they've ever played games or if they're just so bad that unless the game like you pretty much just walk through it that they can't beat it. I mean, it's pretty interesting. You know, I was playing Mass Effect on all the previous streams. I beat 3, so I moved on to a different game. But they were EA or BioWare or whoever released the statistics for Mass Effect 3, and one of them was that only 3% of the people who played it beat it on the highest difficulty. Which, you know, I guess you could say that's a good thing, right? That only a small percentage of people can do it. But to me, that's like one of the easiest. That's like one of the easiest games I've ever played. Like I wish they had like an extra crazy hard mode, kind of like how Halo has Lazo, where you turn all the skulls on, and you get all these essentially negative balance things that make the game way more challenging. But hey, what's up, Mr. Divine? Yeah, I just don't know. I guess I don't know how easy is like easy enough for the scrubs is what I'm saying. Because if you're on the Mass Effect pages ever, there's people who literally don't play the game on anything but I think it's called like narrative mode, which is like I don't know if you ever played it on that, but like your AI will literally just kill everything for you. You don't have to do anything. Yeah, if you build your team right, you can combo your abilities. I mean, even without that, like in Mass Effect, no matter I don't actually even pay attention anymore to what class I am and like what class my teammates are because I mean I've played through it probably 20 times, but it might actually be more than that. But you know, it's to the point where some people just don't pay attention. Yeah, I know. But games that play themselves are gross. Yeah, I mean, Halo 5 had a little bit of that, but they actually were pretty good with the AI. Like when you're with Blue Team or Osiris, like you still had to kill stuff, But if you played on easy, it was like super easy. Um, I don't know if this is true or not. I heard that for Halo Easy mode, the way the game developers decided how easy was easy enough was that they could do it like with their nose or something. Like they could go through the game playing with only their nose and one finger or just their nose or something crazy. And that was how they determined like this is the easy mode for the game. Because that is a hard thing to gauge. Obviously, you know, like if you're, especially if you're someone who's been playing games your whole life, then you know it's really hard for you to gauge like what an easy mode would be, because you want easy mode to be beatable by people who don't play games, presumably. Mr. Devine said it sounds like a game journalist mode. Yeah, the what's the one that they always make fun of? Was it Cuphead? That I guess the journalist couldn't get past the tutorial, which is like I don't even know what to say about that. Like if you're a game journalist, I get that you're not going to be good at every game necessarily, but how can you not even get through a tutorial? I I've played through KOTOR I think twice, and I feel like no matter what you do, when you get to the Korriban, which is the Sith planet, um, you end up in the dark side, like no matter what, because you have to go around essentially just killing everybody and doing shit like this, where I'm like torturing this guy. These games are so cool. Oh, that's what I was saying. Is it's kind of a bummer that they can't be trusted to remake these games because the story is awesome, and obviously this is like the Darth Revan story. You get Malik, you have Bastila, who people love. Like it's a super cool like story and game. I think all the characters are pretty solid. Obviously, the twist, if you haven't played it, is pretty awesome. But yeah, I mean, does anyone trust that they wouldn't like, you know, make all the romance options gay and rewrite the story so that Bastila doesn't need your help and neither does Mercury? Like, I don't know. I just feel like they would retcon it unnecessarily instead of just kind of cleaning up the dialogue, which you could probably use. It's 20 years old. Um, let's see. Oh, journalists were complaining about Elden Ring DLC not being able to kill the base game boss to access the DLC. That's crazy. If you can't beat the whoops, if you can't beat the base game, why would you even want the DLC? Was the DLC free? You had to buy it. Have I played Dragon Age? Yeah, I have. I don't actually even remember the new trailer. I know they made that one bald elf guy like the main antagonist, right? Or did they change it again? Because I know that game's been in development for like what 6 years at this point. Or it's paid DLC. Yeah, so if you can't beat the base game, why are you paying for DLC? That's fucking wild. Like, yeah, I can't wait to buy the extra content for this game that I can't beat. It looks like trash. I've heard really bad things about it. But sorry, that's about Dragon Age. What's it called? Wolfsbane? Oh, Inquisition was all right. I'll be honest, Inquisition, from what I remember, and this was like I think it came out 2018 or 2019 that I played it. I think I played it in 2019, so I don't know if it came out in 2019 or if it came out before that. But the I remember feeling like it kind of had the same trajectory as Mass Effect, where the first game was much more. The game was much more RPG and like strategy, and then as it became more mainstream and popular, they streamlined everything. It looks like they marvelized the storytelling. What do you mean by that? You mean like they're just like letting all their political shit seep in, or something different? The Veil Guard. Okay, I don't know where the hell I got Wolfsbane from. I guess maybe I don't know if that was an older title or I just made that up. Maybe I just pulled that out of my ass. I probably should have picked a little bit more of a simple action game to do this. I guess, huh? It's a little bit hard to read the fucking conversations and pay attention to you guys too. Cartoony looking humor in the wrong places, comic style animation. Huh. I think this guy says that he's training and all he's doing is fucking zapping people. Wolfbane sounds more like The Witcher. Oh, maybe that's what. Maybe I was getting it mixed up then. Because I've never actually played the Witcher games. I looked into it when the show came out, and then I think uh, I think only 3 is available, and I know that like you probably don't need to play, um, the first 2 or whatever to play 3, but I didn't want to like start the trilogy on the 3rd game. I think that's weird. So I think once that happened, I kind of just avoided it because you know I didn't have any fucking interest in starting like that. So, but I said I was going to talk about Deadpool and Wolverine. I'm going to talk about it a little bit here since I'm going to talk about it a lot in about an hour here with Mayo. That movie, man. I think Mr. Divine, you were the one I was talking to in the comments this morning, right? You said that you thought it was fun, but you probably never watch it again. Yeah, I've heard good things about Witcher 3 also, which is why I was considering it. But story wise, I just didn't want to hop in the middle like that. I don't know. It's like I don't know if you want to call it like a pet peeve or something. But Deadpool, that movie, man, I don't know if it's just Ryan Reynolds isn't for me. Mayo's relegated it to a 3 out of 10. Wow. I'm looking forward to our conversation, Mayo, because I kind of had the same thing where I walked out and I was like, okay, it's fine. I laughed a little. The action's fine, the blood and violence is fine. The story was dumb as shit. I'll be honest, I actually haven't seen the Disney Plus shows because I just had no interest. I've just watched like EFAP's coverage of them all. And even just trying to tie what I know from like Doctor Strange 2 into Deadpool, that like automatically doesn't make any sense. Like the whole incursion thing, I guess that was just a one-off for that movie. I don't. I'm sure we'll talk about this more on Mayo's stream. Mr. Divine says, I think Deadpool is good for what it is. I thought the first Deadpool was good for what it was. I don't know if this movie I would give that same leeway to. Like I think the first movie, I haven't actually watched it since I saw it in theater. I might have seen it, I had it in the background or something. But I think the first movie still functions as a movie, even if you remove, all the swearing and violence and whatever. From what I remember, it's just like a simple revenge story, which I think is perfect for Deadpool. Him being like a whiny little bitch about not getting the Avengers, getting dumped by his girlfriend, the whole multiverse thing, I just cannot stand. And the more that they do it, the more inept it seems. Yes, make a movie based on a series that's behind a paywall. Oh, you mean, because it's on Disney Plus. I got you. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Jesus. Like, even the WandaVision stuff that tied into Doctor Strange, I don't know what, like, I don't know if I've talked about this before, or if this is in my script for a Star Wars video that I've been working on, but I haven't put out yet, about kind of is Star Wars becoming culturally irrelevant? And I think people don't understand that, like, whatever your most popular streaming show is, like, let's just say, let's say Kenobi had, like, I don't know, 30 million views worldwide. I don't actually know what it had. Let's just say it did. When you talk about like ticket sales and like going to the theater, you are looking at what, 100 million people if it makes $1 billion. Like average ticket's $9. Yeah, I don't like how they try to tie the Disney Plus shows into movies. And to me, this is like one of the like a cardinal sin in media is to expect people to cross platforms to be aware of what's going on in one platform. Like 343 did this with Halo. I use this example a lot because I think it's the most easy one for people to understand. And that's the fact that if you didn't read the Halo books, there's a very good chance when Halo 4 came out, you were like, what is this? Like, I don't really know anything about the Forerunners. I sure as hell don't know about a librarian or a didact. Like, I don't know anything. Like, what game am I playing? And then Halo 5 is the same thing where it seems like you get this big jump between games and they just expect everyone to, I don't want to call it doing homework, but kind of. Like, I don't like the philosophy. I think it's unreasonable. I think it's lazy writing. Like, I think it's lazy and it's really kind of bullshit to expect your audience to read a book to watch your movie or to go on a streaming service to go to the movies. Like, most people don't have time for that shit. Yeah, Mayo says, Han, Luke, and Leia, all we wanted was them together. Couldn't fail. Almost criminal not to do that. These people have to be retarded. Yeah, that's like the most basic bitch storytelling. And Fallout, tons of references that no one gets. Yeah. See, Fallout, I think in my review, I was like, I called it fun, but I said I don't think it's going to hold up over time. And that's kind of my summation of Deadpool. The difference with Deadpool is that I just didn't find the humor funny, so it made the movie feel eternally long. I mean, I won't say I didn't laugh at all, but when you have a movie that's pretty much 2 hours of just nonstop jokes, if you're not like constantly laughing, it makes the movie drag. The Forerunners are mentioned throughout the games, though. No, I know that they're mentioned, but I'm talking about like getting into like the didact and the librarian and sort of their technology and their they introduced that stuff with John being the chosen one. Like there's a bunch of stuff that they brought in that I don't know, because I've read the books, so it's hard for me to say exactly like what a more normal person would think. But my friends that I talked to that played it were like the game was fun, but I had no clue what the hell was going on. And like when you introduce the composer and what's the gene sign or whatever, like there's a lot there that they bring in for not that you can't do a hard sci-fi game, but the Halo audience was kind of conditioned for like simple but compelling storytelling, right? Like even the second game with the Arbiter and you're getting introduced to all that, the explanations I would say are very straightforward. Like you understand that the Arbiter is being used as blame, as a scapegoat to like for what happened on Halo 1 or in Halo 1. So like that's a very easy plot line to follow. I don't think Halo 4 or 5 had that. And you start bringing what did Halo 5 bring in? Like the Guardians and Locke and stuff that it's hard for me to say. I haven't read every single book, but I've read enough to at least like know that there's shit going on. I don't think Bungie left 343 with anything to work with. I felt like Halo 3 closed everything. I don't hate 343 the way that a lot of people do. I don't know if it sounds like that right now. Mayo says that Deadpool felt like Austin Powers' Goldmember. It just didn't fit with the previous movies. Yeah, I think that's a fair comparison. Mayo, did you like Deadpool 1 and 2? If you want to give me like a out of 10 or even just a general like yes or no. Like for me, I thought they were both fine. I thought 1 was just a solid movie. The humor in that one for me was okay. But even then, I remember not liking those movies as much as everyone else did. So I know that there's a part of it where it's just like Deadpool is just not like resonating with me for whatever reason. Okay, so you love the first two, huh? That's interesting. Because both of them, I was like, yeah, like there's some funny stuff in there. The violence was fun. The first was better. Yeah, the first was definitely the best one. Like I felt like there was a very clear drop off from 1 to 2, and then a much bigger drop off from 2 to 3. Where the hell am I going? Facing the wrong way. So like Deadpool, like I get that for whatever reason it's just not landing with me, which is fine. But this one I felt like was significantly worse. So it's interesting to hear that because I feel like even in my comments, which obviously I'm getting blasted, which is fine. When you put a video out, I think a lot of the time you at least have a general idea of the feedback that you're going to get. And, when I put the Deadpool Wolverine video out that I did, I understood like I'm going to get a lot of shit for this because people fucking love Deadpool. Like people that like Deadpool seem to like really like fucking Deadpool. So it is what it is. I don't care. It's just weird to me that also people take shit so personally. Like my comments are littered with people just calling me a retard and a pussy, saying my channel sucks, saying bad taste like this is why I don't have any more subscribers. I don't care. I just tell them all, all I can do is give my opinion. No one's forcing you to watch my fucking video. And certainly I'm not trying to force you to agree with me. So should have made more ODST games, dropping into missions, scuttling lost assets. Yeah, so the thing with 343 that I think where they fucked up is I think they had a lot of options, right? One is like we're not going to bring the Master Chief back in. Or we're not going to bring him back in right away. We're going to move on to the Spartan 4 program. It's the Marvel fanboys. Yeah, I figured. I don't care. One guy was going crazy about how I had an anti-Marvel agenda. And I was like, I hardly even talk about Marvel on my channel. So, like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then he just threw a tantrum. But as far as 343, like, I don't have an issue with. I don't have the hatred for them that a lot of people do, because I know that people really hate 343, which, you know, it is frustrating to watch them just kind of butcher shit. So I get being like irritated, but I don't take it personally. I'm like, you know, they made a game that I wish was better. Like, it kind of is what it is. But you know, they could have just gotten away from Master Chief and stayed in the Halo universe, like what you're saying, right? ODSTs, Spartan 4s, maybe even make it a mission for a Spartan 4 to go rescue Master Chief. Or if you're going to bring Master Chief in, I think what they really needed was to kind of what they really needed to do was establish what the world is and what the new goals are, but probably keep it to more localized storytelling. Because, you know, once you've blown up Halo rings twice in 1 and 3, I don't want to say you've blown your load, but, you know, like those are supposed to be galactic threats, right? You don't want to keep trying to have galactic threat after galactic threat. I thought bringing in the Banished and making them like the new main villain to try to be scarier than the Covenant was a huge mistake for Infinite. The Guardians and stuff in 5, I was actually okay with. I didn't like that they brought Cortana back, because I thought her death, I mean, regardless of what you think of Halo 4, I thought her death in 4 was pretty good overall. And like, you know, the whole her struggling with rampancy and all that, like, I appreciated that they went into all that stuff from the lore. And, you know, obviously that's all in the books more, but you get the gist of it right away in Halo 4, right? Where she says the lifespan of an AI is 7 years. I'm turning 8. And then she's talking about the whole game, right? You see her going crazy. At the end, she sacrifices herself for Chief, and they've always been partners. I was fine with all of that. But I think they brought in too much too fast and didn't take the time to explain it. And they tried to turn what I would call, like, I don't know, I wouldn't call Halo soft sci-fi, but it's definitely not hard sci-fi. And they tried to turn it into hard sci-fi, which is a big pivot for the audience. Yeah, the scraped Helldiver concepts for Halo ODST would have been nice. Yeah, exactly. I like the sound design. The MAS sounded like an automatic stapler in 3. In ODST, it sounded a little bit better, but in 4 and 5, the weapons sounded like weapons. Also, I liked feeling like a Spartan. Yeah. Oh, you didn't like Halo 4 Cortana? You mean you're drooling because the way they did her animation? Yeah, I see fucking feet memes all the time about Cortana, and it's usually Halo 4, where she suddenly got a little bit busty. Which I mean, that's the thing too, is they have a lot to play with. I don't know if you guys have read the books or not, which you know you don't have to, obviously, but the which path did I want? This one. They have so much to play with the AI and the ODSTs and the politics. You did have this big schism in the Covenant. So like the idea of having multiple factions, I think makes perfect sense. You know, the Guardians and the Forerunners and stuff. I think bringing those things in gradually would have been cool. But after Halo 4 kind of didn't get the reception that they wanted to, it felt like they didn't have the confidence to stick with whatever story they were going to tell. And then from 4 to 5, they ditched the storyline. And then from 5 to 6, they ditched the storyline. So now, instead of a cogent trilogy, you've ended up with a trilogy, a couple one-off games, and then like essentially one-off games with Master Chief, where it's like, oh, like there's no connecting tissue between 4, 5, and 6. Um, so there are like I feel like I know what you're saying that they closed off a lot with Halo 3, but you also have an entire universe, right? Like Cold Protocol, which is one of the Halo books, focuses on Gray Team. I know the comics had a Black Team, but then they killed them off screen, which is like an insane decision to me when you only have like 30 Spartans. Of course, that number just keeps changing whenever 343 feels like it. And then I know there's a lot of fans too who are kind of salty that they that initially the humans were Forerunner descendants, right? Like that's what 343 says in Halo 3. He says you are Forerunner. And then 343 took it in a different direction. I personally didn't mind that. What I didn't like as much was the whole kind of humans being special thing that happens in a lot of media. They could have done early Spartan missions, a game with nothing but Marines, so many stories to tell in 50 years of war. Yeah. And that's what I was going to say is even after the war, like blowing up the Halo ring doesn't make the Covenant disappear. And you do have stuff like the 343 books that get into the like kind of the factions and the schism and all that shit. And I think 343 isn't willing to rise to use the Halo series with another protagonist. Well, that's what I'm saying is at some point, like the Master Chief does need to kind of hang his boots up, Like I get he's the face of the franchise and all that. And I know a lot of franchises struggle with this. But to me, there's no reason that you can't have Fred come in or even Palmer. I know people like to shit on Palmer because of the whole "I thought you would be taller" thing, which I think that kind of writing right there to me sums up the fucking issues with 343's Halo. Is that kind of generic bullshit? But you can have a Spartan 4 kind of work with the chief and work under him, and then if you don't want to kill him off, maybe he just gets too old and loses a step. Maybe he feels like he's done his part finally and he deserves some of his own life. You can have him do whatever you want. Maybe have him make the big sacrifice and that's it. Jerome. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of Spartans, but I was going to pick a 3 or 4. That way you could use age as an excuse for Chief to kind of move him along. You could even make a game that follows the Karen Travis novels where you try to make Naomi cry about her past. I actually like those books, but I know they're not well received among the fans. Which, I get. There is a lot of just, I don't know if you want to call it Halsey slander, but it does take Halsey from morally gray into more of just villain. Which, I mean, on one hand, like, yeah, she is. A lot of the rationalizing that she does is sort of post hoc. Like, obviously, she didn't know that the Covenant was going to show up and the Spartans were going to be the ones to save the entire species. But it did work out. Oh, shit, I thought I said to close that big thing. Damn it. So I get the hate for him. I do. And then I think a lot of people complain about when, is it Lucy that punches Halsey and doesn't like essentially decapitate her? And that's the kind of thing that I'm fine with there being like inconsistencies across massive lore. I think it's just sort of the nature of, when you have enough stories, they're going to contradict themselves. I mean, they're being written by people, and not every person knows everything. And even if they did, there's still just a lot to keep track of. But Star Wars and the MCU have gone like kind of the opposite direction, where instead of like trying, but there's some mistakes, they're just like, fuck it, like we're gonna do what we want. We're gonna do what we want and call it a day. Oh, well, this stream I said I was gonna talk about Deadpool and Wolverine. So, I mean, if you're here, you've probably already watched the video. Um, but like there's some decent jokes in there, but I do think there's something to be said for like your hit to miss ratio in comedy. Like I think if you have a movie that has 15 jokes in it and 10 of them land, you're probably gonna think, wow, that's a really funny movie. When you have a movie like Deadpool that has probably 200 jokes and maybe 15 of them land, you're like, like when's the next funny one gonna be? It just kind of feels like they're waterboarding you with bad fucking takes or bad jokes. It just wasn't for me. I don't know what to say. I mean, and also, I guess I just don't get the appeal of the shock humor after the first couple of times. Because everything that's shocking after the first couple of times ends up not being, right? It's just, that's literally the definition. But let's see. Like Star Wars, they're making an entire universe so small, concentrating on legacy characters. Well, that's one big issue with Star Wars. And then the other is that they just straight up fucking retcon canon at will. So you end up with this situation where it's like, well, that's cool when it happens, but is it permanent? Or does it matter? Like, it's really hard to care when, the next series that comes out, they might say, fuck it, that doesn't matter. And I think that's a big problem that Star Wars has right now. Is that mentality that they just don't seem to give a shit, honestly. I don't really know how else to say it. It just seems like they're just content to retcon anything they need to at the slightest inconvenience for the story. Settings as well. Yeah. I the amount of I don't know what you want to call it, use that they've gotten out of Tatooine is like, what are you doing? A Tatooine is referred to as a backwater. Do you know what backwater means? Because it feels like they fucking don't. And even then, you can have a creative excuse for some backwater place to be used a lot, right? If it's a hub for some resource, or I guess you can't have a hub and a backwater, but you know what I mean? Like there's some valuable resource there, but it's really out of the way, or whatever the case is. Like you can justify different people going there. But at this point, it feels like every Star Wars property, they've had to make a pit stop in the Outer Rim at Tatooine. And then it's like, you have a galaxy of people. I guess people who write probably don't understand like basic level science. But when you say galaxy, you're talking millions of stars, planets, like tens of thousands of habitable ones. There's no reason to have the same 5 people do everything in a galactic war. And that's one thing I would praise Andor for is, well, it didn't bring in new characters, but you know what I mean. It's characters who are just regular people in the galaxy who had a small part. And I think, I feel like I heard that one time during the Clone Wars, that they made like a quadrillion droids or a trillion droids or something. It was like 1,000,000 droids per day per station or some crazy ass amount. Because the scale of a galactic war is, I mean, it's pretty much incomprehensible. I don't know. I don't know why we have to stay with the Skywalker family. I don't know why nothing in the galaxy happens outside of this 75-year window until the Acolyte, which, I mean, is anyone going to advocate for that? Like, they went a little bit before the window, changed the window to tie into it, and then fucked it up. So, I mean, for whatever that's worth. I'm really hoping that Andor Season 2, though, gives us a little bit more with him and kind of the people around him. Because I think for me, that's kind of what was lacking. Was he just seems sort of along for the ride. And I know, like, Zega commented this, and I actually meant to say it in my video, that he was just kind of there for the start of the rebellion. He wasn't like leading the rebellion or anything, but it's also like he's coincidentally there for these big events that are part of it. I don't know. You kind of have to decide for yourself if you think that's contrived or you think that's okay. I think it's fine, but I just wish he had a little bit more personality, or they needed to win some battle to get to his sister, or I mean, fucking just something. Because his, like, obviously your primary goal of survival is like fine, but usually there's something you want to survive for. And I think that's kind of why the Andor didn't really resonate with me so much, is because, like, I feel like we saw the what, but we never really got the, I don't want to say we didn't get the why, because you understand why they're making the decisions they are, like, logically. But there's just not that extra little bit of motivation or emotional component. Like, even when he was like looking for his sister, it's a shame that only lasted like 30 seconds because, I think most people were like, oh, I care about my sister or my cousin or, whatever, a brother, whoever, whatever it is, Like, that's a very easily relatable story. I mean, I know it's kind of been like memed to hell, but Taken, I think part of the reason it was so popular, besides, the whole certain set of skills and all that, and like the action being pretty cool, I think everyone can relate to, like, if my daughter was kidnapped, I hope that I would have it would be awesome to have the ability to go get her back myself and kill fucking every person who hurt her. Like, I think that's a pretty universal message. We got the Rey trilogy in a couple years. Do we know anything about that? Like, it's pretty safe to assume that they're just going to steal Luke's story, right? At this point. Like, they're going to steal Luke's story from the Heir to the Empire trilogy, which they scrapped, and now it's just going to be Rey, right? Like, that's the assumption that everyone is under, or do we know anything? Like, she's going to be starting a Jedi Academy. They're going to bring Thrawn in. Like, I don't know. It seems like what we're going to get is a knockoff version of the EU. And someone who's really knowledgeable about the EU is Ryan Kinnell. If you ever watched Stargrift, they only had like a dozen episodes, but it was Star Wars Theory, Mauler, and Ryan. And he knows a lot of the EU shit. So he gets pretty pissed off about it, about how many references they make or whatever, or take, and then just make worse. But I kind of feel like that's what we're going to get. I'm about halfway through the second book in the I guess it would have been the sequel trilogy with Luke. Was it Dark Force Rising or something? But I've been listening to Darth Plagueis, so I kind of put that off. But it's so much better than the sequel trilogy, obviously. Is that even worth saying? Flack says that Thrawn won't be in it. Why do you think that? Because well, I guess he could get killed in Ahsoka season 2. I guess the assumption that I was under was that the Ahsoka season 2 was going to be Ahsoka and Sabine coming back to the galaxy after they fuck around with the Wizards of Mortis or whatever bullshit. And then the Mandalorian movie was going to be kind of everything. Like all the Mando shit, the Boba Fett shit, the Ahsoka shit, all of it kind of coming back into the galaxy for a big war that Thrawn leads. So I guess I was under the assumption that if Thrawn doesn't die in that movie, then he might be the big bad for the Rey trilogy. I mean, maybe you've heard more than I have. I haven't been paying attention. He'd be long dead with the timeline, would he? I mean, the Ahsoka show happens after the Mandalorian stuff, right? Because she shows up in Mando. So if they get back to the galaxy in a couple of weeks or whatever, which is what I'm assuming, they got out there in like 2 days, then I see no reason to not assume he wouldn't be alive. But I can't remember how much prior Mandalorian is to Rey at this point either, because the timeline has been kind of all over the place. And yeah, I mean, what do they care? They fucking brought Palpatine back and Darth Maul, which I know that wasn't Disney, but I still hated it. I hated that decision. Yeah, Mr. Divine says that she's going to build the Jedi Academy and someone's going to be naughty with the Force. I think you're watching a different version of Star Wars. Rey's not canon. Rey not canon, so it will be funny to see it flop. What are my thoughts about Robert Downey Jr. being announced as Doctor Doom? I'll be honest. Flack says he thought Rey was a few decades later. Oh, is that what they said? I mean, Daisy really is not that old. Are they just going to give her makeup? Or maybe she's just so magical she doesn't fucking age. Who knows? Oh, sorry. So my thoughts about... Yeah, somehow Thrawn is still alive. Somehow Thrawn returned and lost again. I thought... Sorry. Mr. Divine said, what are my thoughts about Robert Downey Jr. being cast as Doctor Doom? I'll be honest. To me, it just seems like completely desperate. Like they just need... Like they had to get him back in. And I mean, maybe he didn't want to be Iron Man again. Maybe damn it. Maybe story-wise they were like, oh, we don't want to fuck up the only good shit we have. I don't know. Because I guess I just don't understand, like, there's so many actors out there and you couldn't cast someone new? I'm also curious to see if, like, the super casual audience is like, oh, like Iron Man came back as evil because he's Doctor Doom now or something, you know? I mean, I have no idea because, like, if you're not a comic book person, probably all that you know about comics is that crazy shit happens sometimes, right? So I always imagined someone with a voice like Kiefer Sutherland. You say Kiefer Sullivan. I assume you mean Kiefer Sutherland, right? But yeah, I could totally see him being in that type of role. I mean, I don't know how old Doctor Doom is in the comics or how long they want to use him or whatever. But even someone like Heisenberg, I could see as sorry, I called him Heisenberg. You know, I meant Bryan Cranston. I could see someone like Bryan Cranston coming back as, you know, or sorry, coming in as Doctor Doom, because he's got a really good voice, and with the mask, you can always just say he's younger anyway. Like it's not like you need to digitally de-age him for forever. Um, I've been reading the Heir of the Empire. I've been reading the Heir of the Empire to Survive quest and about to start the new Jedi Order. Oh, nice. Robert Downey Jr. coming back as anyone but Iron Man feels wrong. Yeah, that's the thing too. Is like I don't know. I just feel like there's so many actors out there, and it's like um you couldn't just pick another one. Like what? Why? I guess it's kind of my thing. I mean, I know why, right? It's because they want everyone to go, oh, Robert Downey Jr. is back in the Marvel universe. Like it's saved. But for me, it's just kind of it just reeks of desperation. I don't know what else to say. Like I think it's a weird casting choice, and to me, it just seems desperate more than anything. Oh, is this the deal where I had to put something in here? Damn it! I don't know if there are any comic nerds, but is there a comic where Iron Man was Doctor Doom? I mean, I kind of wonder how many people will see it and just assume that, you know? Because I don't think it's like a crazy assumption in comic book world. Didn't Spider Man's jizz like kill Mary Jane in one of them? So to me, I don't know if I would put anything out of like the realm of possibility. It's yeah. I mean, like, I don't know. Like, when you think of a villain, and the problem with Doctor Doom is he's supposed to be also like one of the smartest guys in the universe, right? So you have like Doctor Doom, and is it Reed Richards is the stretchy guy, Mister Fantastic. Like those are supposed to be like two of the smartest guys in the universe, right? So to me, that's one of those things. It's like, I mean, I guess he was already Tony Stark, so you can't say that he can't play like the smart guy. But Tony Stark, he was a lot more quippy, and obviously he has that whole joke about being a playboy millionaire, genius playboy millionaire, or whatever. Um, but like, do you? Because like when I think of Doctor Doom, now I've only seen him in the first Fantastic Four movie that came out like probably 20 years ago at this point. To me, he seems like a guy who's supposed to be super fucking smart, but also have a lot of presence and be like intimidating. And I just don't know if even if Robert Downey Jr. can do it acting wise, is that something that the audience can can they sort of detach what they've already associated with him from Iron Man to to give him the benefit of the doubt if he does a good job? Or is it just going to be like you're looking at him and he's just Iron Man? Like, but there's just no two ways about it, And that would be my concern, because I would say his role as Iron Man is certainly the most iconic in the last 15 years for any franchise, and probably one of the most iconic ever. So I just don't get it. I really don't get it. And I'm trying to think of like, who do I like as a villain? Um, I mean, I think even the guy that played I think his name is Stryker in Dark Knight Rises. He was also in Rogue One. Like, that guy's always a bad guy. I could see someone like him doing it. I could see a Cillian Murphy type doing it. But there's plenty of actors I could envision in that role. It's just one of those things. It's like, you until you see it on screen, you kind of just don't know. I feel like I'm sure he could, but we all know they're still leaning into funny nonsense. Well, that's the thing too. Is when are they going to learn how to balance tone? Which is like a crazy fucking thing to say that they're still struggling with. But it really is just every movie. It feels like even when there's a decent serious moment, it's almost immediately undercut with some kind of quip, some kind of joke. A lot of the time, I'd say pretty inappropriate jokes, certainly poorly timed. So, yeah, it's I mean, the fact that they already have an announcement date makes me think that like it's either they've got the script or it's in production or whatever the case is, right? So I don't think this is going to be one that gets delayed or anything. I don't think it's going to get delayed or anything like that. Like, how like a lot of Marvel shit, they'll announce it and then what they had that Agatha show that's about to come out. I think has been done for what, like a year and a half. Like I'm pretty sure they announced that back when WandaVision came out, and that was a while ago. Or the Ironheart series. I mean, this is according to like Nerdrotic and those guys, but they were saying that got done like a year ago or something, and they're still like not not releasing it until next year or something like that. So to me, this one, that kind of announcement, I don't think you make unless you are 100% certain like it's coming out. But does that mean it'll be good or he'll be a good fit or anything like that? No. So yeah, I mean, as far as that goes, I mean, let's just be real. Does anyone have any confidence in anything Marvel's doing right now? Like the Robert Downey Jr. announcement aside, it sounds like what they've done is say, okay, we can't have Jonathan Majors back as Kang. We need something. Like the interest is waning. Like we're not happy with the numbers that we're seeing, presumably on Disney Plus. I'm guessing at the box office as well. Like we need something. I bet his contract for this is fucking insane too. Because I heard that he made like crazy money on the Avengers also because he agreed to a percentage of revenue or percentage of profit or whatever the case was. And that movie made, I think Avengers made $1 billion, right? I feel like that was one of the first ones that really kind of destroyed at the box office. I know they all did well, but I feel like that one was the one that really like cemented what the MCU was worth. The game looks so boring. Yeah, the combat's not great, and I'm kind of like cheesing it a little bit because I'm trying to talk to you guys. So, but it's a RPG. I mean, it's 20 years old. That's what I was saying is the gameplay sucks balls. Like I'll just go ahead and tell you. But the story is great. Like if you don't want to play it, you should pull up like an abbreviated version of the cutscenes or something when you're at work and just stick it on the background. Because the story is really good. But yeah, it's definitely not like, because of the way that I'm playing, it's a really easy game. But it's also very distracting as I'm trying to enter the commands, and the commands for this game are dog shit. I think it's 2003. So, not the best. But yeah, I mean, to me the MCU is just done. And I'm not going to say that like it couldn't come back or anything like that. But does anyone actually think it's gonna? Like, even if like let's just say in theory, like right now they decide, you know what? We're done trying to make these obscure characters a big deal. We're done trying to push any kind of messaging. Like, we just want to make good movies and good shows that people will enjoy. Even if they made that decision today, when are the first changes coming? 2 years from now? 3 years from now? And by that point, I mean, I think the MCU culturally has already become kind of just nothing. Like, it's just become irrelevant, right? Like yeah, Deadpool is making a splash because of Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman's star power combined with bringing Wolverine back for the first time since Logan. Also, they put an ass load into the marketing. I was talking to someone in my comments. I was like, even if because I said the movie was going to make 700 million. Looks like I'll be wrong. That's fine. I don't give a fuck. But I was basing that off past performances, whatever. But the problem for the movie is the budget. And if you just Google Deadpool and Wolverine budget, the first thing that comes up is Forbes saying that the budget's over 275 million, which to me means it's probably closer to 300. And then on top of that, the marketing for this has been insane. Like like remember the first big ad was a Super Bowl ad that they did. And a 30-second Super Bowl ad, you're looking at $7 million. Now, in the grand scheme of in the grand scheme of the marketing, that's, drops in the bucket. But this movie has been marketed nonstop for 6 months because it's pretty much the only thing that Marvel has coming out this year. I think Captain America is not till next February, so it might actually be the only thing. So, like, this movie is, I mean, you're looking at 300 million budget. I think 250 million marketing is probably accurate, and I actually think it might be even more. But I to be fair to the movie, let's just go with like 200. So you're looking at $500 million that they spent on this movie. So right away, they need to make what? Over $1 billion to break even? I don't see it happening. Even though it's doing really well and the fans love it, who aren't me. Like, $1 billion is a big fucking deal for an R-rated movie. And then you also just have no idea what the drop-off is going to be. Like, is this one where, a bunch of people wanted to see it and then it's going to get good word of mouth and the drop-off's not a big deal? Or is this one where, everyone was like, oh shit, I need to see it opening week so nothing gets spoiled for me because I want to see all the cameos for myself and the jokes and blah, blah, blah. And, you have a 70% drop-off next week. I mean, that we won't know that until next weekend, right? My guess is that the drop off is pretty sizable. But if the opening weekend ends up being like 400 million, like some people have talked about, it's not really going to matter, right? There's going to be a big drop off when you make that much money. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, it seems like at this point pretty evident that I'm wrong, or I was wrong with my box office prediction. Which, good for the movie, I guess. Whatever. But even still, it's not going to make any money, and certainly not, the type of money that you want to make for what they've spent, right? Like if you're talking about spending $600 million or $500 million in a movie, you want to make, you want a big payback or a big payoff. You don't spend $500 million to make $20 million. If they stop doing multiverse, Jakin says if they stop doing multiverse just where there are no stakes, they could come up with compelling stories again. And yeah, the thing that have you seen the movie? I don't know if I don't want to spoil stuff for people. It's still the first weekend. Well, I'll be vague. So even if you've seen it, it doesn't matter. Or if you haven't seen it, it doesn't matter. But this movie, I thought, had a chance to kind of end the multiverse and doesn't do it. Which to me says that Disney is like, hey, we're committed to this. Like, we are committed to the multiverse. It's the future. I think that's why I think they rely way too much right now on empty promises and cameos for them to get rid of the multiverse. Because at any point, right, they could they can get Chris Evans to come back as Captain America. They can get Chris Hemsworth to come back, even though he's not dead. Or if they want to bring in somebody, somebody new, they can do like the thing they did with John Krasinski, where he showed up as Reed Richards, right? And people can be like, "Oh, John Krasinski's in the movie," even though he's in it for 2 minutes and gets his fucking head ripped apart. So I think there's just too many options for them there's too many options for them to get rid of the multiverse. And I agree with you though. As far as like the stakes go, it's just dog shit. And the problem really isn't even the multiverse as much as the fact that every fucking movie that comes out now seems to be like this, never ending, everything is at stake, blah, 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 multiverse, like, I was going to say galactic, but it's bigger than galactic, like multiverse threat. It's just, I agree. It's just butchering everything. I mean, the smart thing to do would be to use one movie to destroy the multiverse and then get back to doing small, good stories again. I mean, some of the more popular things recently have been Spider-Man, and those are all kind of just his own little personal journey. I mean, I know No Way Home brought the multiverse in, but the story was still really just his story and him dealing with his emotions about Aunt May. People coming back from death. Oh yeah, from death in TV shows and movies makes everything suck. I completely agree. Yeah, this I don't know. Like the MCU to me, like I didn't love Endgame, but I was pretty much done with it by Endgame. Like after Endgame, I was like, okay, I don't really see like my interest is kind of fading, and the movies are getting worse. But I'm going to wrap up. I need to be on with Mayo in about 10 minutes here. So I'm going to go get situated for that. I bought a Wi-Fi extender after last stream, so I hope the stream was a little bit better today. I didn't see it drop at all. So hopefully that's hopefully that's that'll resolve the issue with any Streamlab. Jesus Christ, with any streaming connection issues that I've had. As far as videos, I've spent the whole weekend doing member requests. I'm actually doing the last member request for this month right now, which is Band of Brothers. So after I stream with Mayo, I'm going to get back to watching that. And then beyond that, I started a new job and I've got other shit going on. So, I'll put videos out when I have time. There's not really any shows that I'm watching right now, so I don't know what'll be next in that capacity. But we'll see. I mean, there are shows that I'm watching. I just don't know if I want to make videos on them. But yeah, I mean, if you're just hanging out, you can hop on over to Mayo's stream. The link is in the description. Or if you just want to search Unbridled Mayo, it should come up. And yeah, I'll see you guys there. It was good talking to you. You got to watch me play a 20-year-old game. I'll pick a different one for next stream. This one's distracting. All right, see you guys.